Like my dad used to say, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't. And that's what a pre-approval is really, because when you go into the dealership, your experience isn't going to be very much different from you just walking in off the street. You're gonna have to do a credit report. The dealership is going to review it. And in my case, something very strange happened. Lined up the car, I test drove it. That's when they told me I had to do a credit report, even though I was, quote, pre-approved from Capital One. So I did the credit report, and I was in the dealership about 4 hours, just kind of lurking about, waiting for my turn in the finance office. If you've ever been to a dealership and you've experienced that, you know what I'm talking about, where you're just there for hours and hours, and typically people who have credit challenges or whatever, or they're the ones that really get beat up the most. This company was willing to do the deal if I put down, over $1,000. And, I just didn't have it. So I'm like, well, can we work anything out? What about Capital One? What did they say? And he's like, no, this is the finance guys, two guys were telling me, we could barely put this deal together. And, you have a lot of negative equity in your car. And even Capital One declined you. So I want to pause and repeat that. The dealership told me that Capital One declined my loan. And I was pretty shocked because I had the pre-approval and everything. And I thought, wow, I've got pre-approval. I can go in there and shop with confidence. Well, I believed him. And I kind of went home with my tail between my legs. I felt pretty bad because I had spent, 4 hours in the dealership. It was just such a typical, horrible dealership experience like I've had so many times before. And, and then I got to thinking about it, and I thought, man, I'm going to call and give Capital One a piece of my mind. So I called Capital One, and I said, I'm kind of disappointed. I mean, I went to look at my car, and I thought, they told me that you declined me, and I thought, you'd at least have my back. I thought that, I thought you'd have my back, meaning that you would give me a loan on this car. And then I thought to myself, what if they never got the request for the loan? Right? So that's exactly what happened. The car dealership, and this is likely because of the relationship with Capital One, they just don't get the same deal. When you go to the finance office to sign the paperwork, those guys get a piece of it too. Sometimes they make money off of, interest rates of the loan, if it's a high interest rate, or if it's a particular finance company that they put you through. They get extra money. They make money. They're incented to do that. So what I think likely happened was they just decided they weren't going to make any money if they put me with Capital One. So they just didn't even submit the loan. Now here I was approved with Capital One. I was there because of Capital One. They told me I got declined by Capital One, and they never submitted the loan. So when they told me this, I was shocked. And I said to the lady I was speaking with at Auto Navigator, I'm like, I can't believe they did that. I mean, they told me I got declined. And she said, this happens all the time. That's what she said. She said that the auto dealerships, there's no one really looking at. I mean, how do you know? Like when you go to buy a car, if you are someone that, like me over the years, has had some credit issues, maybe you went through a divorce or you had a business that failed, who knows? But if you've had credit issues, it's like you're at their mercy, You don't know if the loan they're saying is the best one they could get really is. It might be the best one for the dealership and not you, and that's exactly, what happened. So I'm gonna wrap this up, but what I want to tell you is you could do just as well going into a dealership and applying. I wouldn't do that. I would try to secure financing before you go in to the dealership. And if you're going to try to use Capital One's financing, insist on seeing, the application and the response from Capital One. Because how do you know? I mean, when you go into the finance office, these guys, it's a den of thieves most of the time. I bought over 25 cars in my lifetime, and I've been screwed more than half the time, usually because, I was in a position where I wasn't negotiating from a position of strength, and they took full advantage of me. So anyway, the good news is they didn't take advantage of you. If you like this video, like and subscribe, because I'm going to bring on some people to tell their car buying nightmare stories, and it should be funny. And, I'm sure they laugh about us sometimes, behind our backs, but we're going to laugh about them because you and I both know that good people always win, that, karma is real, and doing the right thing is important. And Anyway, thanks for listening. Like and subscribe so you can hear what we got for next week. Take care. And this is Cookie on his new Don't Get Screwed channel. Take care.